and Tobago, welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ICNTT. It's always a pleasure every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9 where we talk sports. Today, before I get into introducing my guests, I just want to say a big shout out to the guys down at the Freedom Dream Sporting Complex. Michael, big up to you. Well, it's been quite a while since I have spoken to anybody in the sport of chess. For those of you who have been following ACTN for a while, you would have seen a lot of chess being shown on the station between 2014 2015, but it's quite a while since I have last done something on chess. And it's my pleasure today to talk to two members of the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association. And before I even go further, I want to say a big congratulations on air to the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association for being voted the top organization in sport for 2019, sorry. And they have always won the small category, but they finally got the big one. And big congratulations to them. First of all, let me introduce Sonja Johnson, the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association. It's a pleasure and welcome.
Thank you very much, George. Thanks for having us.
And the evergreen Mr. Frank Sears, the first vice president of the association.
Yes.
Again, welcome to ACTN.
Thank you.
Today we want to talk a bit about the sport of chess, the achievements, the development of the sport, the accomplishment, and all that has happened in chess. Chess has been around since 1936. So I'm not going to direct any questions to any individual. You feel free to jump in at any time.
Sure.
What has been going on with the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Associations for the last couple of years? I know your big achievement in 2019, right? If you want to start with that, let's start there.
Sure, I will begin. I will just take us just a little bit back. In 2013, under the president of Anderson Gordon, the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association started its whole drive to become more professional in its outlook, in its administration, just generally how it promotes and presents itself to the wider public.
Yeah.
That's when I had come on board as a member of that particular team. And our focus was really seeing how could we do things better. There were many people doing things in chess for a very long time, a lot of really good names like Mr. Sears, Mr. Sundar Singh, and so on, who've been doing a lot of work in chess.
He's still involved in chess.
Yes, he is. And we felt that maybe we could use some of the skill sets that we had, from our professional activities in work and business and so on, to bring to bear on the association. So that's when we started to look at how we do what we do. So it's not just putting on events, but how we do what we do, and that helped us develop a certain kind of philosophy and sets of values that helped us to navigate how we moved forward. I don't know if Frank want to just jump in a little bit and see.
At that period, or you?
No, just from how, taking from that point, in terms of the premise and what you saw.
Well, I saw more professionalism, especially under Gordon and yourself coming all the way up. Hence, I volunteered to do some administrative work at your level 2 years ago.
Correct.
Previously, I was, so to speak, a club administrator. I thought and always felt that to produce a champion in any sport, you have to have a champion administration.
Yeah.
He cannot or she cannot do it all on themselves. They need that base to push them. So that was my approach to pushing chess throughout. So that I'm at this present time wearing the cap as president of the Southern Chess Club, a club that has been around before my time, and I'm into chess over 50 years now. So that there are a number of clubs in the country, at least 14 or 15 chess clubs in the country. And the key factor is our Chess in Schools program. As a matter of fact, jumping the gun a bit, come Thursday, we are going to be having a webinar?
Yes.
With a person all the way from Israel as to how to produce a chess program for beginners or those who know the game to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And that we hope was going to produce dozens of kids, if not hundreds, throughout the country. So much for that. If I have to step back a bit, all I could remember on coming into the game, a number of people coming through to Trinidad and promoting the game. Campomanes, for instance, came to Trinidad. Campomanes is a Filipino, and he was the president of the whole body at that time. I remember reading books, of course, of world champion Alcaine, passing through Trinidad on his way to Argentina. I remember meeting Lombardi, an assistant to Bobby Fischer. Lombardi was a priest, a Jesuit priest. Was he Jesuit? I'm not sure. And there are a number of top players who came through to Trinidad, gave simultaneous displays, and boosted the game of chess all the way through. I will say one thing before I turn over to your next question. We expect, not hope, but we expect our chess playing delegation to the World Olympiad next year to be in the top 100 of the over 190-something countries in the world. That will be a barrier we expect to meet and surpass. So that we are rising, yes, but to be in the top 100 is a goal we expect to take place.
Okay, Sonja, you have been at the head for how long?
Okay, this year, so far it's exactly 5 years since I've assumed the role. In 2015, when the then president resigned, I acted as president and then was officially elected in 2016, but I've been holding this position since this time in 2015.
It has to be that you're doing a good job. Now,
I've had this support for which I'm really, really grateful.
Now, chess doesn't have a home.
Thank you for saying that.
How long have you all been asking for a home, and what is happening with that right now?
So chess, we've been really, when people say, now they have to operate virtually, we in chess say we've been doing it for a very, very long time. We get that. There's a lot that we've done in terms of even how we operate as a team, how we engage the community and so on. A lot of it has been virtually, either through emails, Facebook, whatever vehicles that we've had to use. But we've been looking for a home for a very long time. I heard from even pre-me that people have been asking and so on. I mean, I personally have visited several sites. I mean, the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs and now Ministry of Sport and Community Development, they've been very good to chess, don't get me wrong. So generally when we go to them, they listen, we say, okay, we need to do a couple of things. They at least see how they could help us, even if it's not always financially, how they could help us. So I did visit a number of venues, but for various reasons that never panned out, and I've been very disappointed because I've really taken time from in the east to south to central to Port of Spain. I've visited all. And all we ask is that let us get an official home, that's somewhere that people could say, okay, this is where your organization is. In 2016, we got incorporated. They asked us to do it. So that's in our bid to improve how we operate and improve the level of accountability. So we started to do that. But then where am I going to put as an address? Where am I? I mean, it's really officially that somebody could say, okay, I'm going here and so on. So we really want to make that appeal again. Because when we look, I mean, fortunately, I work with the International Chess Federation. So I'm able to see that one of the first things that federations have is that they are provided with some sort of facility from the government. I mean, it doesn't have to be, it could be just a modest facility, but somewhere where they could operate. So they have a few who don't, but many, and especially those who've been around a while, do. So I just want us to at least have that basic requirement met, that we could have our little office where we could put our equipment, the little equipment that we have. So you don't have the issue of having it to move from, and again, we want to make sure we preserve what we have. So I'm just saying the ministry has been good to us in all fairness, but I think that is somewhere that I think a little more attention needs to be paid, and I'm sure something could be worked out if we collaborate.
What plans do you all have in store for post-COVID and like major tournaments and things like that? Okay,
so I will, this has been very interesting. When the COVID situation started, we had a discussion amongst the team because we realized that.
How large is the team here?
So the team, my board is really 8 members, right? So we had a meeting fairly early o'clock when we recognized, well, first of all, we had to say all over the board had to cease, of course. So we started to think about what does this mean for us? Because we started, I think everybody started to get a little anxious, you know, and I think that with that, it just meant the more that we discussed, we realized we had to perhaps do things a little bit differently. So even if though we were a virtual organization, how could we then increase, say, our virtual footprint? Say online, are there other things that we could do? Social media, how about online events, those kinds of things. So we started to think about, okay, what we could do. And we don't like to do anything small. So the first event we had was the first ever regional online chess championship for under 18 youth from the region, the Caribbean region. I mean, it took us like a week and a half to plan. People got like 3 or 4 days notice, but there were 172 players from 15 countries who participated. So even that simple decision, because we said, you know what, let's just do it. We weren't sure about all that was required, but we figured it out. And we had a great event with commentary from people from Trinidad and Tobago, top players, from somebody from Jamaica for the finals, because the Jamaicans ended up in the finals. So we really, and that's when we started to have our own YouTube channel, for example. We had Facebook Live. So it forced us to engage in a different kind of way. And we're hoping we could replicate it in a sustainable way going forward. And maybe Frank could also add, because he helped us made sure that we had that event. So Frank could share some
all I
views.
can remember vividly is the tournament that was held in December last year. I would like you to comment on that.
Oh, sure. But he was referring to post-COVID.
Post-COVID?
Yes. What are our plans?
Yes.
Yes.
The plans for?
It is to produce many more Zoom tournaments, so to speak. And
I guess you all had a calendar of events that had to be shared.
yes.
That's pretty much correct.
Yes. We had to share all our national championships, which were over the board tournaments. And we are getting to the phase now of virtual Zoom tournaments. Different types of tournaments, virtually every week or every month. And we are aiming to have something because we expect the World Olympiad next year.
Where would that be hosted?
That's going to be held in Russia.
Moscow.
Yeah, Russia, Moscow. I think it's scheduled for June next year?
July, I think. The end of July into August. Yeah.
Would it be over the border?
Well, that's the initial intention. We'll see.
Right. So if it turns out to be virtual, we have to be in line for that and train our people. We have selected teams that are going to be undergoing virtual training by coaches all over the world. And in fact, 95% of our activity would be virtual. In fact, my club, Southern Chess Club, is right now doing a training session by Zoom twice per week for a number of young people, run by one of our international masters and a foreign international master. Going beautiful. So the whole mindset, virtual, and doing that.
And I just want to piggyback on what Frank was saying. Because of what COVID has brought, one of the things and the terms that I use for the team is that we have to level up. This is the time that you level up. Were there things that we wanted to do before? Are there policies we wanted to get done? Let's do them. Is there some training that we want to get done? Let's use this time because we're not as distracted from the actual physical activities. So what we've been able to do, we've been able to get 2 arbiters trained. One, I think, is en route to becoming another FIDE arbiter, so he could actually arbiter for international events.
Explain to the public, the viewers, what that is. What that is.
FIDE?
Yeah.
What is?
The arbiter.
All right, so the arbiter is equivalent of like a referee.
Okay.
So he's the person, so people are playing their games, he goes and makes sure that the rules are being upheld, that people are playing fairly. So that is the equivalent of our referee in chess. And the good thing now is that because there's so many online tournaments, you actually are using some of those arbiters through Zoom and so on, where we're asking people to share their screen and so on, so arbiters could still kind of look to do their job and supervise the games. And again, look for fair play. Some platforms actually allow them to stop the clock for people to say, okay, raise their hands virtually, of course. So a lot of things that we used to do over the board, there's still quite that could be done because of the technology virtually. So that works well for us in Jess. But our job now is to make sure that our complement of resources here have the capacity to be able to execute at that particular level. So that's what we've done. We've just done some training for 2 because the Barbados Chess Federation had an event and they allowed us to just a couple. So we got 2.
One
from Tobago, by the way, because we think Tobago, whatever we're doing here, we have to do there. So 2 of them got the opportunity, so that is happening. We have other people who've done, like for international organizer course and so on. So anything that we could do to help build our capacity, we've used that time as well. So it's not just about events, but what are we doing as an administration to help deliver
COVID
better.
has done a lot of good.
Yes, for sure.
Made us more, use our
way of
talents, so to speak. Than things, because even when you look at the recent NBA, with the crowds in the back, so it wasn't, COVID isn't all that bad.
Correct.
Now, how wide is the pool of chess players in Trinidad and Tobago, and is it a sport that is growing?
That's a very good question. So one of the things that we do at the International Chess Federation, I just switched the hats a little bit, is that we've been asking federations to measure their performance and two key performance indicators, KPIs, right? And one of the key KPIs is how many people are registered with the international organization and so on. So Trinidad is no different. Trinidad and Tobago is no different. In terms of registration, in terms of names, we may have about 700 and something players just over 700 players on the list, maybe 800 plus now. Of course, in terms of active players, it's between 200 and 300 active players. So it's quite a bit, and a lot of it is actually driven, because some of it, we are focusing on trying to get the data, hard data, but we know we have a sense of the schools that are doing it. We have a lot more secondary schools than we did before with persons playing chess. Of course, it's always been at the primary schools. It's somewhere you actually have a few, and that is driven by chess trainers, some people who have decided to do chess full time, which was not always the case. Yeah. So they see that there's an opportunity, let's go into a school, let's have a school clubs, going at a lunchtime. So I must say that that number is most probably even bigger. Okay. But again, until we are able to really capture the hard data, which we're going to work with the international organization to do, I think that we're seeing growth. This COVID may present a challenge to reignite some of the enthusiasm, but I think the base is there.
We need to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk a bit with Mr. Sears. I want to find out how you got involved in the sport of chess and what kept you all these years. Viewers will be right back after the short break. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard on ACTN. Mr. Sears, you have been one of the long outstanding chess players or associated with chess all these years. How did you get involved in the sport, and what has kept you all these years?
Interesting question. I went to a secondary school where I saw glimpses of the game being played. And it spurred me to try to understand the game. That was Presentation College right here in San Fernando. And from there, I went to work at Pointe-à-Pierre. And I kept with the game. I found a chess club, which is the Southern Chess Club, with stalwarts who, when I look over their shoulders, I couldn't understand what was happening. They were very much further than me. But I kept at the game, kept at it, trying to understand. And the thing is with chess, the more you know, the more you realize how little you know. And you have to keep plugging away, plugging away. What spurred me on is in 1972, after about 4 or 5 years in the game, fiddling around with the game, I was selected by the association to go with another veteran. I was a young person at the time, with a veteran to a Caribbean tournament, which I won, 1972 in St. Lucia, where Jamaica, Guyana, Barbados, Trinidad, we were all there. And that spurred me on again. And I went to a couple of Olympiads, world tournaments. That keeps spurring me on. The deficit in it was that I had to travel from San Fernando to play the top guys in the north. But I kept going, and I suppose my playing the game attracted other people who became as strong as me. I call a few names: Yogendranath Ram Singh, Xenophon Bihari, even the new international master in Jamaica now, Shane Matthews, a Jamaican, who used to study at UWI in Trinidad. He was part of the pool, and we would study the game, and all those things helped push me along. So I was at the top level for quite a number of years, and that challenge always brought out the best in me. I kept at it, and I realized that administratively, my club was suffering, and I had to do double, both administrative work and chess tournaments. But I think my personality helped in the sense that if I am doing anything, I am focused totally on that project. Whenever it's finished, I may leave it and do something else. But whenever I'm doing anything, I'm focused on that project. And that's where it is today.
Has the game changed from when you started to now? And if so, what?
In terms of levels, yes, certainly. I consider myself a wood pusher, just what you call someone who just pushes pieces now, compared to the levels that they are now. I am probably not too sure I'm in the top 20 in the country now. Although that doesn't mean to say it will remain like that. But yes, it has changed. The people who are playing chess are becoming younger and stronger.
Yes.
Because they are exposed to that technical advice from all over the world. And that's a beauty to see. My only hindrance is I like to see more girls taking part.
Okay, so
and I hope
you mainly have boys playing this sport.
Well, there are girls, but only about half a dozen or a dozen who are pretty strong.
Okay.
And then the rest just play it for playing sake. Our hope is to produce an all-female tournament during the Women's International Day, the 8th of March next year. Whether it's OTB or over the board or virtual, we don't know. All that's to spur the female participants. But that's the aim that we have throughout. Even eventually, to bring in the disabled people.
Correct.
Because you have people who, whether disabled by sight or hearing or whatever it is, they can play the game. So all those are the aims, to keep spreading it. We are involved in the prisons. My president didn't mention it, but for a number of years. And that is something else by itself. The kind of reaction you get from the prisoners when we organize the tournaments there, as the case may be. And that's how we broaden ourselves.
Masters, but I guess you are still active in the game, right?
Yes.
So you have a Masters tournament, things like that, you know.
Yeah, what you call Masters, those who are over a certain age.
Yes.
Yes. Up to last year, we had one for 65 and over and 50 plus. Two categories, so to speak. And we plan to keep that every year. Oh, yes. So that we have people who, you know, they are tops in their particular profession, and they come out and they play. And whatever happens over the board.
Let's talk about some of the top players that Trinidad and Tobago have produced and where they have reached so far.
Okay, so...
Well, I know one of the names already is Ryan Harper.
Okay.
Right? But what are some of the others?
Okay, so Ryan Harper, FIDE master Ryan Harper is like a 10-time national champion. The top 10 has basically... a lot of it has remained the same. It's great to see that a lot of young players. So the top 10 now has maybe about 2 players under 20, 1 at 21. So say 21 and under, there's 3 players. But some of the players who were playing in Olympiads way back are still, some of them are still in the top 10, like a Ryan Harper, like a FM Mary.
And that's international, right?
No, this is within, when you say top 10, within Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, right, within our context. So it's great to see that you still have some of what you call veterans who've been around a little bit while.
Yeah, because Ryan has been around for quite a while.
Quite so. And so it's good to see that they're still very interested in keeping a certain level, maintaining a certain level. And the good thing, which I like to see, and then we have our second international master, which is Alan Safar Ramuta, who got his title when we hosted the Under-20 Caribbean and Central America Chess Championship in 2019 in Cuba. So he won that event.
Just a centennial.
And at age 16 at the time.
Yes.
And he became our second international master. We have another international master, Vishnu Singh, who got his own at the end of 2014, I think awarded in 2015. But he's an open scholarship winner. So he went away, he did his law degree. I think he's back now. So we're hoping some way that he gets re-engaged, because what we've seen in Trinidad and Tobago versus some of the other Caribbean countries, the players have always been open. It was never about age, that because you were a master or you're accustomed playing at a certain level, they were always open to play with a 6-year-old or 8. So our particular environment helps to breed that kind of confidence. And I think in the end, you see it result in increased performance, right? So because, for example, Alan may have started at 12 and at 16. I mean, of course, with training, but he was playing with the Ryan Harpers and the Mario Merritts and so on from very young. So, and that happens generally across the board when we have our events. We don't prevent people. You know, the most we might say, okay, well, so the top players don't just take over everything. We might say, okay, let's limit the rating if we want to develop another group. But so our top players have been participating, and what we're doing now, the TTCA, as Frank has mentioned, next year's the Chess Olympiad, and what we want is to have a training program, not just for those who've made it, but just to widen the pool just a little bit more so we could have our squad. So therefore we could raise our standard of play through exposure, through different facilitators and so on. So that is actually commanding. I just said one other person who's from South, I want to mention Isaiah McIntosh. The other young player, so I mentioned Alan Safar. Isaiah McIntosh, he's a FIDE master as well. Who also is kind of up and coming. And of course, Joshua, who's 21, Joshua Johnson as well. So those are some of the names that you see coming. Yeah,
I remember him.
Yes, you've done.
I remember him.
Right, so that's the kind of group. And of course, existing, I forgot, the existing national champion, which is Kevin Cupid. So you see, they have a lot of names that we have. We have a lot of depth, I think, in the country. So it's very positive.
Now, we know in sports you have world rankings, right? Are there any Trinidadians in the world rankings of chess?
No, we don't have. No, how they do it as world rankings by the individual. Now there's a country ranking. So that's why we say we're just under, like 104, 106. So I mean, we're just like on the cusp, because our ratings have been tracking for years, where we want the average rating of the top 10 players. So like we were in the 2000s about 6 years ago. We're now in the 2100 average, 2200. So that's the rating. So you're actually seeing the ratings going up.
So you're seeing it.
So you're seeing. But remember, other countries are also. Some of them are also doing the same. Some are droppings. But our intention is, as Frank said, to let's break that barrier, because in FIDE everything is top 100 countries. So players, we're not quite there yet because we don't have a grandmaster. A few countries, which is someone with a rating over 2,500. Alan Safar is our highest rated at 2,300. Ryan has hit a 2,300 in the past, and we have a couple in the 2,200. So there's a lot of promise. But again, it's just who do we get? We really need the resources to do development on a sustained level, not just let's just prepare for this event. Could I have a coach that is there for the year? This is my baseline. This is what we intend to do. This is what we're trying to do now. Because I think if we don't measure it, it won't get done in the way that we want to get it done. So that's why we're starting with this. Let's see what the baseline is. Let's see what we could do with additional resources. And hopefully the ministry could help us with that. And then you would see, because again, the return you could get with the very little investment, I think would be amazing. And especially from a region that is not necessarily chess-centric, but we have such a good pool to work with. I think the rewards would be immense.
I look at chess as not an expensive sport to get into.
No.
Right? So what is the association method of approach to get more people involved in the sport of chess? How do you all go there and spread the game to the wider community to get more involvement into the sport?
I will say one thing. Interesting. I keep telling people I'm involved in a school, Tranquility School in Port of Spain, for instance, virtual that is. Very interesting to me is the top SCA kids, and there are 3 of them from South. All those schools have chess programs. Even before when the school in Enterprise, that Grant Memorial produced 3 SCA winners in 4 years or whatever it is. They have a chess program. So there's a correlation between chess and academic qualities. That correlation it has been proven before, where a child who used to come 15th in tests, once they get into a chess program, they come in the first 10. Those who come 10th come in the first 5, simply because of their ability to focus longer, the ability to see ahead, and those kind of qualities. And parents, children themselves, go for that. The liability in this particular age now is the question of devices, where even though kids are getting devices and some don't have, is how much quality time you could put on your device on watching a screen. Yes. Because all their classes are virtually on screen now. So that is a liability. We have to see how we could deal with it. But it is a win-win situation with chess. We have to now actually tell them, get into some physical exercise, because the brain is being fed, but the physical needs to work on it. So we have no problem in selling the game. Some kids learn the game by going on the internet, as the case may be. And parents see the value of it in some months to come, how the ability to focus. And that, to me, cannot be disputed.
I've listened to you all so far, and everything seems to be nice above board. What are some of the challenges the organization faces? Because I know that nothing comes smooth. You might see it smooth on the surface, but underneath there are a lot of challenges. And
challenges for those who are involved in chess?
No, for the sport itself.
Yeah. Personally for me, and I'm sure it is for
besides not having a home.
Virtually everybody. Right. Yes, yes. One of the major challenges is Trinidad is a tropical country, and the norm is to go outside and play, which one cannot be against. And chess is an activity that forces you to be sedentary and to work with your brain. So one has to always be mindful that you have to find a balance. Find that balance of getting them to do some physical exertion. That is, to me, one of the key ideas. I remember what spurred me on in chess years and years ago was reading that in the Soviet Union at the time, there were 2 subjects that had to be done in school: chess and swimming. One physical, one mental. And I was so keen on that. I was so taken with that from today, I keep thinking about that. It rounds you off. So that is one challenge for me, as I see it. The question of country being a tropical country, and one has to be involved in a sedentary mind game. There are other challenges, of course, I suppose, if Sonja know any that she wants to raise, but feel free.
And I think, Frank, I would just kind of segue a little bit into what you said. I'll just... And we do promote within chess that people say, okay, you have to sit down and so on. But some of the best chess players saying to play your best chess, you need to be fit. Because a healthy body spurs a healthy mind. So people can say what they want about chess. If you look at many of the top chess players they do something else. Magnus Carlsen, the top chess player in the world, plays basketball, he plays football, he plays table tennis. Look at him, he keeps him physical, so his package is a really good package. And people don't understand that it is important. So even though we tell parents, yeah, by all means, make sure your children play chess, but what else are they doing? I made sure my children who does football, who does tennis, it's important that you do something else. Because remember, it's not just about the mental. It's not just about the physical. Remember, we are 3, right? Mental, physical, and spiritual. So we have to remember we feed all of that in order to bring to bear on the chess. But one of the things I see as managing the federation is that, of course, the greatest challenge is financial, because anybody who's running an organization wants to have a sense of where their revenues are coming from. Because every year you're creating plans, and you could have the best of plans, but if you don't have the resources, then how are you going to execute? I am very results driven. People know, I mean, I want to get this done by this time. And so for us to manage the federation, that has been has to be, for me, my greatest challenge. I mean, we have been able to work around, because in some cases we've been able to reduce expenses or work a little bit smarter, or how it is we could get in-kind types of support, even if it's not financials, just so you could make things happen. So we're still able, no matter what, to execute our tournaments, for example, you know. So luckily we're able to do that. But some of the other things that you may have in mind that you want to do, you want to include and expand, because as Frank mentioned, we do work in the prisons, we want to do work with people with disabilities, but you need like a partner, and that's what you want. You want a partner because you want to help with sustainability.
Yes.
Of course, we could bring the technical aspects. This is how I think it could run. We could leverage the international governing body. They could provide us with resources. But I think if we could get that working, we've been trying to get a partner, like a multi-year partner, to work with us. We have had support from corporate for different specific events, but someone who believes, okay, this is our mandate, let's make this happen, because it's not just good for the sport, but good for society.
Correct.
Okay. We need to take our final break. When we come back, I want to talk about your plans. I don't know how long your term will last again, but what, as the current president, when you demit office, what would you like to leave? Where would you like chess to be?
Excellent.
Viewers will be right back after this short break. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to SCOREBOARD ACT. And if you're now joining us and you miss any part of this program, remember there's a repeat tomorrow at 1 p.m. and there's also a repeat on Saturday. I just don't here remember how they do it in Parliament. Madam President, how long is the term supposed to be?
Normally, every time you're elected, the term is 2 years. Currently, it's 2 years.
And you have double, triple 2 years. Right? But one day your term will come to an end.
That's correct. That's correct.
When that time comes, where would you like to see the sport of chess?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, I have to say, as I look back, I think we've been able to do quite a bit. Because, and I'll go back to just looking at the initial objective of making the sport more professional and more visible. I think we've done quite a bit of that within the association, and it's been evidenced by the recognition that we've received over the years. My term will indeed come to an end, because there are many other things that I want to do. As I said, I already work with the International Chess Federation, with one of their commissions, and there are other things that I want to do globally as well, of course, still supporting. And as I see it, I want to see the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association become a truly sustainable institution. We've been around for now, if it's 1936, 84 years. I want to see what else we're doing in 84. And I don't think it's going to necessarily manifest itself as it did in the past 84 years, and it shouldn't, because we should evolve depending on what's going on. So I'm hoping that that we could get a cadre of people, because a lot of this could only happen if you have the right people first. I mean, of course, you could get the financial resources, but the right group of people who are willing to say, okay, we understand what Sonja's been trying to do, and people before her to do with chess. Because as I see it, it's my responsibility is not just to have a good, well-run sporting organization. How am I developing my citizens? What contribution am I making for the betterment of my society in Trinidad and Tobago? My team knows that very clearly. Every decision we make, that is the first premise. So I want to be able to develop a group of people that understand that that is the underlying philosophy. Of course, they could bring to bear their own unique perspectives and so on. But that legacy must remain, that when they hear the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association, what do we stand for? What does that mean? We're talking about fairness, we're talking about fun, we're talking about transparency. What are the things? I want those words to remain. But the only other thing I want us to be able to do is to really be recognized as a top sport. So I don't want people to say, well, I wonder what's going on in chess, or why you're playing chess. Is chess even still a sport? The fact that people still make those comments means that we still have some work to do in educating people that it is.
Yeah.
Clearly, you know this a long time.
Yes,
You've engaged us.
Yeah.
But there's still some people who don't. I mean, it's still a minority, but clearly there's some things that we need to do in terms of how we portray ourselves, maybe. It could be. So I always look at what could we do differently to help improve. Not saying that the people are wrong, but maybe something that we're not doing. So my job is really to work on getting that next generation of people to really help take the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association forward, because we have good people, we have a good product. Let's really make it work for our society.
Very interesting. Something slipped me during the program, but I'm going to ask you now. Do you play chess?
Oh, I do play chess.
How active are you in this game?
I have to tell you, I'm an administrator first in anything.
Right.
But I do play because my entire family plays. I have 4 children. They all play.
So you have to play.
So I have to play. We've had family events. My job was to come last, and I accept it. It's fine. but the good thing for me is that because I have who I have as my children, I get to learn.
Yes.
Like I love puzzles. I love to see end games. I mean, don't ask me to reach there. But when I look, it's like, okay, I start to think and try to figure out. So to me, it helps me, to kind of keep current what's going on. They know what's going on with international players. So, it keeps me to know, which helps me to do my job even better.
You spoke earlier about a book. Elaborate a bit about it.
Oh, sure. So at the end of 2017, my team at the time, which included, and the committee, which was chaired by Mr. Bishon Sundar Singh, and I was still, of course, overseers as president, we produced a book for our 80th anniversary. I don't know if any other NSO has done anything like that, but we said, you know what, we need to preserve our history, because there's so many things that were just in people's minds and so on, So we said, let's document it, because I think that's something we don't do well generally as a people, especially in the Caribbean. So we started to document from what happened in 1936, how did it begin? We realized it began with one of the McShines, starting that off, that family, that legacy. And we were able to get information on previous winners, male, female, youth, people who had international titles, world champions who visited us. We saw people like who got Sportsman of the Year award. There was Sean Tavares who did it in 1982. So all those things we realized, hey, we did some stuff. So we tried to put all of that in this package, which is our 80th anniversary publication, which we just held. We just did, some limited copies because we felt it was important. But like our International Chess Federation had a copy, like somebody from Jamaica and Barbados, they thought that this was interesting. So they made sure they had that copy. And the intent is that at least we have some baseline. So if we need to kind of, as the years go on and we need to add or have a part 2, at least we have the base and we could just continue from 2016 or 2017 onwards. But to me, it's one of the greatest achievements I think we've ever done because it was all internally done. We didn't take anybody else or hire a publisher and so hire like an editor and so on in any real way. We had somebody who helped us with the artwork and so on, but the content was all the team.
That's good.
And so of course you're going to have some little edits. Oh gosh, you all forgot this, but that's okay. I mean, when you look at 90 plus with resources that we use, that's when I say about using internal resources, how we try to do things smarter. That's what we tried to do, and we were able to get this publication, which was, to me, from what we've heard, has been really, really well received.
What would you say is the association's biggest accomplishment over the years?
I think that book is definitely, because of what it represents, as I said, what it meant was that we had to get different, people from different walks of life to participate, like people from way back who used to play chess 20, 30 years ago. We had to say, did this really happen? What was your knowledge? Do you have a picture? So how we were able to engage the community as a whole was one of the key things. And I think the other accomplishment is actually winning that award for top sporting organization large, because I used to tell my team, I was like, okay, every year we got small. We've been there, we've done that. And it doesn't take away, I mean, because we've worked and we know the work that we've done. I said, okay, my work is done when we reach the large category, that we win in spite of our size, in spite of the resources that are afforded to us, that we're able to get the recognition for the day-to-day things that we do that maybe nobody else is doing. So we like best in class was my thinking. Never did I imagine in my wildest dream that it would have come so soon in 2019. I know the work that we did. We had an amazing year in 2019, and we were able to document all that we did. But those are the two things that I have seen. And of course, there are many people who did other things before that, so I can only speak for what I know of. And to me, those are, I don't know if Frank has any other views, but those are the things that kind of stand out for me.
Well, I could put in together with yours the growth of the
Yes.
community from say 5 or 6 clubs to about 15.
It is 15.
And
That's the number of clubs in the
15.
association?
yes, and to segue a bit, I would like to see us being able to have an annual international tournament in Tobago.
Yes.
Tobago is
There are chess clubs in Tobago, I guess.
there's a grouping of people, and they call themselves Tobago Chess Society.
Okay.
So you may have 4 people there, 10 there, whatever it is. But they are all bunched together under one umbrella.
Okay.
So that Tobago can be an international venue,
Yeah.
a venue for international tournaments.
Yeah.
It has got everything
And you
going
can
for
tie the
it.
tourism
Venue,
into it and
Every-
it.
because a large group, 90 or more percent of chess players, they would like to play the game, but after the game is done, before or after, they want to see the countryside, they want to go into the sea, get into the culture, get the mental thing off, and Tobago is best suited for it.
So is that something on the drawing board?
Oh,
Yes, it is, but I know we really need a sponsor because we don't want to do something for 1 year and stop.
Yes, yes.
We really like to
no,
see it.
we want to build the
Based
brand.
Yeah.
Correct. Build a brand.
And I just wanted to just piggyback on that a little bit more. After the 80th anniversary event in 2016, our intent was to have an international tournament every year. So after 2016, we did have one in 2017, an event where we had people from Venezuela, from Barbados, from Jamaica who came to the event. But again, this needed to be sustained in some way. I think in 2018, there were some issues like in terms of resources. Was also an Olympiad year, which required a lot of resources from the TTCA to send a team. But that's, as Frank had said, that that is what we need to make sure that we have some sort of sponsor. Of course, there are some things that we could do as well to happen. And we do want to try and encourage Tobago. We do have a relationship with the Tobago Chess Society. There's nothing we do without us thinking about what's going on in Tobago. We've met with the Secretary of Sport in Tobago before. We've talked about some of the challenges that we're having, but the lines of communication are open, and I think they're generally very positive. So, so we're hoping that we could make these things, that of course is having a signature event is key in any plan that we have, because again, that's what you want to do. You want to build a brand. Let's come to Trinidad and Tobago. I remember when people came in 2016, people were like, wow. Some people went to Tobago first and then came over to the tournament in Trinidad. And I'm like, well, this is what we have to offer.
Yeah.
Let's do this together, yeah?
You know, it's just like the Tour de France in France. You see the whole of France in cycling, or some weightlifting tournament in Bulgaria, or whatever it is. You know, that's what I'd like to see, that brand.
We just have about 4 minutes remaining. Anything you'd like to share with Trinidad and Tobago before we wrap?
I just want to share that I have been just very appreciative of the level of support that I've got from you, generally from the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I think that we have a lot of work to do, and we recognize that we can't do this alone. There's nothing that we could do alone. We have to look and see how it is can we work together. This is with parents, teachers, members of the community, other administrators, how it is we could work. And the other thing that COVID, I found, has brought is that you could have discussions with other types of NSOs. They don't have to be within the same sphere, because many of us have the same kinds of challenges. How could we work together to navigate this period? So therefore, at the end, we all will succeed, not one at the expense of the other, but how we could do this together. I've had discussions with gymnastics and other sporting organizations, with futsal and so on how we could perhaps work together or share some of the experiences so we could then enhance how we operate as a whole for the benefit of our country.
The police youth club.
Oh, yes, and I forgot. You could talk about.
No, you would know it more than.
Sorry. So Frank is
connection.
reminding me that one of the things that we're working with is trying to work with the police youth clubs, which is the community policing unit. So we're trying to get a program off the ground where we train trainers at the police youth club. So therefore, we could have not just within the schools, but within the communities via this medium.
Any closing comments, Mr. Sears?
For me, I want to first thank you and your organization for hosting chess and being here physically. It has brought a number of ideas to me how we could bring chess forward.
Well, we will chat after
We'll chat about that. I really am excited about that.
Yeah.
But I can't help but again talk about the involvement of you personally and your organization, this TV station, for promoting the beauty of chess.
Yeah.
For sure.
I know there was a little lapse for a couple of years.
It happens to all of us.
That's okay, though.
It's good to have the reunion here today.
Happens to all of us.
We know
So-
you pay attention.
Let me thank you all very much.
Sure.
You know, I really appreciate you all coming down today and, you know, enlightening the public about what is happening with chess. We want to wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And as I said, those little discussions, we will speak about it after.
Sure.
And we will see where it can go. So again, thank you all very much. All the best to your association.
Thank
And
you.
we hope that in 2020 you all can reclaim your throne by being the top sporting organization. Right?
They
Because
may not have any.
They may not have any.
It seems because so many organizations have been not
Impacted.
been able to
We'll see what
yeah.
what
to
will
produce
bring.
because of COVID.
But that's not going to stop you all from
You know,
from climbing that ladder. So again, thank you all very much.
No
Because we have
problem.
come to the end of the program today, I hope you had enjoyable time listening to the comments. Remember, there's a repeat tomorrow at 1 p.m. and also on Saturday. Thank you all very much for staying with us, and we wish you all the best. Let's remember to be safe out there. COVID is still with us, so be safe, because I want, when I'm here next week Tuesday, you all are here with me. So do have a blessed week. See you next week Tuesday.